In the dark of the midnight have I oft hid my face, while the storm howls above me, and there's no hiding place. Mid the crash of the thunder, precious Lord, hear my cry. Keep me safe till the storm passes by. Till the storm passes over, till the thunder sounds no more, till the clouds roll forever from the sky. Hold me fast, let me stand in the hollow of thy hand. Keep me safe till the storm passes by.
As I said, I wanted to use that for these last two studies because I really wanted us to focus in on the spiritual storm when Satan is tempting, when lust is building. We need to trust that God is stronger than Satan. Do you believe that? Oh, I guarantee he is, and I'll demonstrate it today. Say it with me, Psalm 118, verse 24, this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Remember Hebrews 3 and verse 13, but exhort one another daily, while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. That's why we study daily. We do not want the devil to get an advantage over us. So this is the last segment that I have planned in this particular series on the pathway to death. I love it when it works out on a Friday. That hardly ever happens. So we'll begin something fresh next week, the Lord willing, if we have a next week. So in this final segment on the pathway to death, I'm just simply reminding us to resist sin. I'm not doing it. I'm going to allow the Bible to remind us to resist sin. And the first place that I want us to go is over to 1 Corinthians chapter 10. I don't know if you have been over there and read that recently, but that is a marvelous passage. I got involved with a discussion with people that believe once you're saved, you're always saved, and there's nothing you can do to be lost. And this is one passage that I kept going back to because if this passage is not talking about the fact that Christians can be lost, I really don't know what the value of it is. Now, in this passage, Paul brings up those Israelites that came out of Egypt. And he says, you know, that they all had dedicated themselves to allowing Moses to be their leader. Moses was obviously God's prophet, and they all followed him. But there was a time that they stopped following him. And it says, with most of them, God was not well pleased, for their bodies were scattered in the wilderness. There's a lot of cross-references that talk about that. Numbers 14 and verse 29, the carcasses of you who have complained against me shall fall in the wilderness. All of you who were numbered according to your entire number from 20 years old and above, except for Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun, because they were the two spies that brought the good report, the rest of them an evil report. Numbers 14, verse 37, those very men who brought the evil report about the land died by the plague before the Lord. So look at all these that are going to die, even though they came out of Egypt. Numbers 26 and verse 25, for the Lord had said of them, they shall surely die in the wilderness. So there was not left a man. There was not left a man of them except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun. So many died in the wilderness, even though they'd been rescued from Egyptian slavery. Hebrews 3 and verse 17. Now with whom was he angry 40 years, the 40 years in the wilderness? Was it not with those who sinned, whose corpses fell in the wilderness? So you get the idea in Jude, the little epistle of Jude in verse 5. I want to remind you, though you once knew this, that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed those who did not believe. And all those passages work together to confirm to us that being saved is not a one-time thing. You get saved, and then you must stay saved by following the Lord, following the Lord's teaching and those who he's designated to be his leaders, the apostles, and all of those New Testament writers. If you don't, this is what will happen. That's what the 1 Corinthians 10 is about. I shouldn't have taken so much time to say that, but anyway, as 1 Corinthians chapter 10 continues, he gives them an admonition. Don't do what they did. These things became our examples, that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. And he delineates how they did that, all the specific things that they were guilty of. And in verse 11, he says, all these things happened to them as examples. They were written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the ages have come. Then this, therefore let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall. Just like those Israelites that thought they stood because they'd been rescued from Egyptian slavery, they then fell because of their sin, their unbelief. But look at the final thing here in verse 13. No temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man, but God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you're able, but with the temptation will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. So a couple things here. First of all, no temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man. So the first thing is when the devil tempts me today, it's not some strange, unique, peculiar temptation that only appeals to me. It's the same temptations that he's always used. It's the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, 1 John 2, 15 through 17. It's the same thing that he used in the Garden of Eden in Genesis. And it's the same thing that the devil used with Jesus in Matthew chapter 4 when he told him to turn stones to bread and to jump off the pinnacle of the temple and to bow down and worship him. It's the same things. God will not allow me to be tempted in some way that other people are not. Okay, so I can take solace in the fact that my temptation, as severe as it is, as hard as it is, as difficult as the path is, it's not different than all my brethren that have gone before me and that are currently in the world. It's not different. And then secondly, he gives us more assurance here. But God is faithful. God will never change. He's always the same. God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. So secondly, he's not going to allow that temptation to get so big. It's a temptation that everyone else faces, but you say, yeah, everyone else has faced it, but mine is bigger. When my wife was in the hospital and they feared that she was losing our second child, she was not, thankfully, but they thought that she was, and they thought that they may have to do some procedure on her, and therefore she was on a floor with others who might have surgical procedures, and nobody on that floor could eat. And it had been a long time since she'd eaten, and she told the nurse, she said, I'm so hungry, can I just have a little something to eat? And the nurse said, no, you can't. This is a possible surgical area, and you may go to surgery, and so you can't eat. But just so you know, nobody else up here can eat either, if that makes you feel any better. She says, yeah, but I'm a lot hungrier than they are. You ever feel like that? You ever feel like, yeah, you may be tempted in the same way, but mine's a lot worse than yours? No, God says he's faithful. He's not going to allow you to be tempted beyond what you're able to bear. And there's one last little thing there. He says, but with the temptation, he'll also make the way of escape that you may be able to bear it. He'll give you a way of escape. I want you to look at a couple passages that sort of fill us in on how this plays out in real time. We're privy to some behind the scenes talk that's going on in the spiritual realm, not in the physical realm. Over in Job chapter 1, if you haven't read Job in a while, you need to do it. Job 1 and verse 12, the Lord said to Satan, behold, all that he has is in your power. Only do not lay a hand on his person. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. Now you remember God had asked Satan, where do you come from? And Satan said he'd been going to and fro on the earth, walking back and forth. And so the Lord pointed out Job, that he was blameless and upright, that he fears God and shuns evil. And Satan's answer was that he only does that because you've blessed him. And so that's why the Lord answered this way. All that he has is in your power. Only do not lay a hand on his person. So Satan went out. So you see who's in control here? When we read the story of Job, we might think Satan's in control. He is not. The Lord says, Satan, you can do this, but this is as far as you can go. You can't go any further. I'm the one that's in control. In fact, if we go over to Job chapter 2 and beginning in verse 3, that first temptation didn't work, so Satan came back for more, and the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There's none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God and shuns evil, and still he holds fast to his integrity, although you incited me against him to destroy him without cause. Satan answered the Lord and said, skin for skin. Yes, all that a man has he will give for his life, but stretch out your hand now and touch his bone and his flesh. He will surely curse you to your face. And the Lord said to Satan, behold, he is in your hand, but spare his life. Again, who do you say is in control? And then when you read the play-by-play, and Job gets so sick, and he has boils all over him, and he's completely miserable, and you say, well, it's the devil. The devil's in control. Oh, no, he's not. God said, you can do this, you can do this, you can go this far, but you have to stop right here. Make no mistake about it, God is in control. If anything, that's what 1 Corinthians 10 verse 13 tells us. That's what the story of Job tells us. And so we have to keep that in mind as we're going through these sins. Resist them so that we can be, through God's grace, we can be saved, and we can take advantage of those blessings that God has promised for those who are faithful to him. There's a lot of resisting that goes on, but a lot of times it's not, we're resisting God instead of resisting the devil. Over in James chapter 4 and in verse 7, James says, therefore submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he'll draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. So resist the devil, resist sin. Know that God will not allow some strange, peculiar thing be presented to you. Know that God will not allow it to come in some degree that's greater than you can stand, and know that God is faithful and he'll always provide that way of escape. Maybe it's like the way of escape that he provided for Joseph. It wasn't easy. A beautiful, important woman was throwing herself at him. Would have been very easy for him to give in, but he left his coat with her and ran away. Don't consent to sin. My time is gone, but I want to end with some passages here that will remind us of what we've studied. Proverbs 1 and verse 10, my son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. If they say, come with us, let us lie in wait to shed blood, let us lurk secretly for the innocent without cause, and so on and so forth. He says, do not consent, resist. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 16 and 17. Do you not know that you're the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If anyone defiles the temple of God, God will destroy him. So when you're resisting, remember who you are. You're the temple of God. Colossians chapter 3, beginning in verse 1. If then you were raised with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ is sitting at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things above. Put to death your members which are on the earth. And finally, Proverbs chapter 6, beginning in verse 23, the commandment is a lamp, and the law is a light. Reproofs of instruction are the way of life, to keep you from the evil woman, from the flattering tongue of a seductress. Do not lust after her beauty in your heart, nor let her allure you with her eyelids. For by means of a harlot a man is reduced to a crust of bread, an adulteress will prey upon his precious life. Can a man take fire to his bosom, and his clothes not be burned? Can one walk on hot coals, and his feet not be seared? So is he who goes into his neighbor's wife. Whoever touches her shall not be innocent. I hope these things help us. When we see that pathway of death, we'll avoid it. If we realize we've started on the pathway of death, we will get off of it by all the means that God gives us. That way of escape, we'll take it. Thanks for being a part of this study and all the studies. If you'd like to talk more about this, be sure and get with us. Leave a comment on Facebook or YouTube. Use Facebook Messenger. Send an email to us. If you would like, you could come and talk to us in person. We meet at 514 Airport Road in Jonesboro. We're here on Sundays, 10, 11, and 6, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. But we'll be glad to meet you here and talk, or meet anywhere and talk anytime you'd like. Just let us know. Until next time, if the Lord gives us life and we're allowed another opportunity, have a great day. Stay on the straight and narrow. If you see you're wandering off, take that way of escape that the Lord provides.
When the long night has ended and the storms come no more, let me stand in thy presence on that bright, peaceful shore. In that land where the tempest never comes, Lord, may I dwell with thee when the storm passes by. Till the storm passes over, till the thunder sounds no more, till the clouds roll forever from the sky. Hold me fast, let me stand in the hollow of thy hand. Keep me safe till the storm passes by.